For much more on all things Nebraska football, welcome in Evan Bland, who covers the Huskers for the Omaha World Herald. Hey, Evan, let's start with Matt Rhule. As I mentioned, the big jump was expected last year. It was a success. It was a bowl game in that sense, but it wasn't the jump that many believed. How much pressure does Rhule feel this year to make that jump and win some more meaningful games for the Husker faithful?
He definitely feels that pressure internally. You know, this is not a hot seat discussion. He signed a contract extension last year. I think Nebraska football overall is more stable than it's been in close to a decade. There's more of an identity with what the team has. But certainly, yeah, I think the next step for this program is something beyond bowl eligibility. 6-6 is probably the floor for what Nebraska is looking for right now. And I mean, quite honestly, I think the next step is beat a ranked team. Jump up and get somebody that you weren't expected to get. I mean, that losing streak that Nebraska has against top 25 opponents now stretches more than a decade. So they just need, I think that moment of celebration where the fans can really get excited, where they can remember where they were with a big win. That's kind of the next step. And Nebraska's going to have those opportunities. You have Indiana coming to town. You go to Oregon. Ohio State's back on the schedule. So it's a difficult slate for Nebraska this year. But I think it's one that they look at with opportunity where they can say, let's pick up a win that can be really meaningful for this fan base, where a result I think could get some momentum moving forward that they just haven't had in a while. So bowl game is probably the floor. And if you're in that college football playoff discussion into the month of November, then this program's taken steps where it hasn't been in a while.
Yeah, we'll show you that schedule in just a minute. And the home schedule, the fans should be excited about the teams that they'll get to see come to Memorial Stadium this year. They're also excited about Anthony Colandrea. Give those who didn't get a chance to see him maybe in the spring game or at his past stop at UNLV a little bit of a compare and contrast to the guy he replaces in Dylan Rhule.
Yeah, he's incredibly dynamic, probably the most dynamic quarterback Nebraska's had since Adrian Martinez left the building 5 years ago. And, you know, you saw what he did as the Mountain West Player of the Year at UNLV. Obviously can beat you with his legs, has a big arm, not afraid to take that shot downfield. And that's, I think, been an area where Nebraska's offense has been lacking a bit. A lot of shorter passes the last couple of years. Emmett Johnson heavy, obviously, in the run game. Colandrea gives you that, I think, dimension that Rhule did not in terms of the leg. And we see that with some of the most successful offenses in the NFL and even in college football. You're going to have those moments where it's third and medium and your first two reads aren't there as a quarterback. You have to have that ability to tuck the ball and make something happen with your legs, keep the defense honest. That's something Colandrea certainly has been able to do in his career. The key for him at Nebraska is going to be, can you be dynamic? Can you be a playmaker while limiting the giveaways? That's been an issue for him when he was in the ACC, less so at UNLV. And, you know, Nebraska's seen that with some of its quarterbacks in recent years, too, where there have been issues with fumbles and interceptions. So I think if you can, at the very least, play the field position game and then rely on Colandrea's dynamic ability to beat you as a multi-threat quarterback, he's going to give Nebraska an offensive dimension that they haven't had in a few years. And, you know, what's the saying? Like, it's a lot easier to score on a 3 or 4 play touchdown drive than it is 15. He gives Nebraska that explosive element that they just haven't really had consistently in a few years.
He gets some help on the outside. Quasi Gilmer from UCLA comes over as a transfer wide receiver, but I don't think there's any doubt Ja'Cory Barney is the guy in that room who everybody expects to be that guy. What's his capability this year, and what does he really have to provide for this Husker offense to get where Coach Rhule and Coach Holgorsen want it to be?
Yeah, he's the resident veteran now, and we've seen him make plays on special teams. I think that'll be another area where he could potentially swing games for Nebraska this year. Just very, quick in tight spaces. He can make guys miss. An ideal slot guy. You can line him up out wide as well. He's got the speed to get a step or two on a deep ball. And he's, you get to know him a little bit too. He's one of the leaders of this team. He's charismatic. In practice, he's the guy who livens it up, makes it feel like it's a game day, even if it's a Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon or whatever. So he's going to be one of the personalities of this offense for sure. And when you look at the depth, I think of this receiving group now too, defenses can't key on him maybe the way that they did a year or two ago. You got an Isaiah Hunter back who has been a producer. Quasi Gilmer is an established Big Ten playmaker. Quinn Clark is probably their number 4 guy. He was one of their stronger spring breakout candidates. So there's, I think, more of a depth there, and that it really could be something that allows Ja'Cory Barney to shine even brighter as a junior.
Evan, can we even put into words what the loss of Emmett Johnson means for this offense, and how on earth do you make up for all that production that is now off to the next level?
Yeah, he was unbelievable for Nebraska this year. All-American, and really forced Matt Rhule and the offense to do what they're not used to doing, which is giving the ball to one guy. Typically, they've been a running back by committee sort of approach during Matt Rhule's college coaching career. But, I mean, Emmett Johnson forced the issue. He could be a playmaker in the passing game, obviously, as a runner, became more explosive this past year and parlayed that into a great opportunity in the NFL. I think now you look ahead, that's probably the one position on offense in running back that is not all that established for Nebraska. That's something they're going to have to figure out during training camp here before the season. Mekhi Nelson is somebody that they've projected to be a starter or have heavy minutes, and he's into some legal issues that'll need to be resolved before the start of the season. Isaiah Mosey is another running back that they like. This is his first full year at the position as he converts over from wide receiver. And then Jamal Rhule's a true freshman who was an early enrollee and had a strong spring game. So you have those 3 guys. You have Quentin Ives, who's been in the program for a couple of years. He's been a short yardage back, but I would anticipate this being definitely a collective approach at the position. And I think the thing that might play in Nebraska's favor in that regard is these guys do have different abilities and skill sets. Mosey's more of a threat in the pass game. Rhule's kind of a traditional runner. Mekhi Nelson's a hybrid of both if and when he gets back in the fold. So I think it's going to be about how you pick your spots, how you allot these carries to different backs. But there's no doubt it's going to be more of a committee approach than it was last year with Emmett Johnson.
All right, Evan, we can't let you go without talking about Nebraska's defense. They are the Black Shirts after all, but they have a new leader again, a 4th defensive coordinator in 5 seasons. It's Rob Orich, who comes in as one of the best assistant coaches in the country a year ago. How different does the defense look, and what will be the biggest stories on that side of the ball heading into 26?
Yeah, it's a schematic change. I mean, Nebraska's been running a 3-3-5 the last few years. A year ago, they ran that scheme with the defensive coordinator who wasn't all that comfortable running it. Matt Rhule's acknowledged that. They're switching to a 4-2-5 now with Rob Orich, and it's a scheme that they're going to be varied in their pressure looks. I think one of the more interesting storylines is Nebraska moving back to a 4-man front from a 3-man. I think they have a lot of players that will be better suited in that 4-man look. Some of their edge rushers, Anthony Jones, Williams Winery would be some of them, Cam Lenhart. It's just a different sort of challenge, in a 3-man look than it is in a 4. And I think they're going to have some more playmakers to operate with it. Owen Chambliss comes in as a linebacker. He looks like he's a pro prospect, surefire, next level guy. You can just kind of go up and down. They've upgraded some of the talent in a way that I think that it should set them up for maybe some more explosive plays, generating takeaways at a level that they haven't done in a few years as well.
Evan Bland, Omaha World Herald. Evan, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right, as promised, a look at the schedule. Nebraska opening at home against Ohio, leaving Lincoln for the first time to play Michigan State in the Big Ten opener, then returning to Memorial Stadium for homecoming against Maryland, Indiana, Washington, Ohio State, all coming to Lincoln, while the Huskers will face Oregon, Illinois, and Iowa on the road.